Hello, everyone. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for joining me. I believe we are live. So, today I want to talk about inclusivity. We're talking about inclusivity specifically in the fitness and the wellness industry, fitness and wellness communities. And this is a word that kind of gets thrown around a lot. I think it means a lot of different things depending on kind of the context and the situation that we're talking about. So I really want to speak more specifically today about creating inclusive spaces within yoga, Pilates, fitness, wellness in general. So, this is especially important because marginalized communities have a lot of barriers of entry into kind of these wellness environments and wellness settings. And these are specifically the people that often need a little bit more healing and self care in general. And then on top of all those other barriers, these are also the people that can sometimes feel a little bit excluded or left out or like not really invited. So I feel like that's something that should change. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Thanks again for joining me. My name is Linnea, and I've gone from being an injured aerial circus performer with chronic neck pain to the founder of my own Pilates and personal training studio with a focus on rehabilitative exercise and functional biomechanics. So I've personally rehabilitated from 7 different surgeries: a neck injury, a herniated disc in my neck, a couple concussions, and I've come back stronger and smarter and more passionate than ever to help others along their healing journey. So I do these Facebook Lives every single week. You can catch the replays on YouTube, and topics range from things like managing back pain to how to stay consistent towards your fitness and wellness goals. Yeah, so let's get started. The first thing that I want to talk about is kind of this idea of embodied inclusivity. And what I mean by that is we can actually kind of exclude parts of ourselves, right? Like if we're just even talking about like bringing our whole self to whatever we're doing, like actually fully showing up to whatever we're doing, we can exclude ourselves from whatever we're doing. You may have, like, for example, like shamed yourself to going to the gym, like, oh, I'm so out of shape, I need to get my butt to the gym. And we kind of guilt trip ourselves into doing things, right? We kind of other our own selves and aspects of our own selves that we kind of shame or put on the back burner or try to like sweep away and hide. And sometimes that can be like a motivator to go to the gym or go get some kind of wellness treatment. And so I've seen this a lot. I've been working in the fitness industry now for nearly 2 decades, and before that was kind of just like an active participant in a lot of wellness communities. I grew up riding horses, which can be kind of like a very extreme kind of community to be involved in. And I've seen just over and over this kind of mockery and joking of kind of shaming these imperfect aspects of ourselves, right? Like you've probably, maybe been at the gym and had somebody like jokingly talk about how they need to lose 5 pounds when they're already a size 2. And, eating disorders and things like that aside, I think that a lot of us kind of partake in that kind of communication as a way to kind of like jokingly, I'm not sure where it comes from. I don't know exactly, but I know that it can kind of have this like negative motivator, right? Like we kind of negatively look down on our own selves and then like shame ourselves into working harder at the gym or something like that. And I guess I want to call that out because it's like, what does that mean for the person that's maybe also hearing that conversation or standing right there who, maybe has a goal of losing 100 pounds? What does it mean for that person that hears that conversation and just feels really shamed and really unwelcome. And I think that that's not okay. It's not okay for the person that maybe weighs 300 pounds and is just trying to get to the gym and do something good for themselves. And it's not really that great for ourselves either. For myself as a semi professional athlete and performer, I really took it to the end degree of how hard I could kind of beat myself up in order to do better, right? I really kind of took it as far as I possibly could to just be that kind of judgy, negative inner critic, to kind of like try to force myself to work harder and do better. And then I just completely burnt out on that. Like, it just completely burned me out, and it was no longer an option to be able to do that. So that's kind of the first idea, is embodied inclusivity. And I think the more that we can include our whole selves lovingly, that we can kind of find the motivation for self-improvement from a place of inclusive self-love versus like this kind of othering, even just within our own selves, I think that will inherently create spaces that are like deeply, truly like more inclusive, not just in a sort of lip sync kind of way, but in a deep, meaningful way, creating inclusive spaces. So that's kind of like my first idea. The second idea I want to share with y'all is this idea of being willing to get uncomfortable. And I think this is just like such a great analogy because we do this all the time in the world of fitness, right? And even maybe a little bit in the world of wellness, right? Like if you decide to do a cleanse or a detox, or, shoot, even like a wax job, right? Like you got to be willing to get a little uncomfortable to get like waxed, right? And so, we're used to that in the world of fitness and wellness, of this idea of like having to work hard, having to get uncomfortable in order to see the results that you're really looking for and going for. And it's not like you can't just buy it, right? You can't just be like, oh, I'll just pay $100 and get the thing. It's like, no, you have to like do the work. You have to be the one to, get your sweat on. And so I think that really translates into this idea of, in a more communal sense, like community-minded sense of creating inclusive spaces, like this willingness to get a little bit uncomfortable, and be willing to say, ooh, something's a little bit off in this conversation, right? Like to kind of notice it and be like, ooh, this is a little bit of a moment. Like, what did that person just say? Or, oh, this person just walked into the room and I'm feeling a little uncomfortable because I'm not sure what the right thing to do is. Like, should I go welcome them? Should I not? Like, what should I do? And I think a lot of times in that moment of discomfort, we can just kind of run away, right? We can just kind of be like, oh, I don't know what to do right now, so I'm just going to pretend like this isn't a thing. And I think that really does everybody, again, ourselves and the community at large, a disservice, because we have to be willing to get uncomfortable in order to create that positive change that we're looking for. And I know that's not really easy. I know it's not a specific answer, but just being able to identify that moment, right? Where you're like, ooh, I don't really want to work out right now, but I'm going to because I want the result, right? Like that's something that I think a lot of us can relate to, that feeling of like, oh, I don't feel like it today, but I'm going to do it anyway. And it's the same exact thing, but you can apply it to a social setting where it's like, ooh, I don't want to do this right now, but I recognize that this is like an important thing to actually take on and to do and try to figure out how to get better here. So that's my second idea, willingness to get uncomfortable. And then I just have one more little idea to share with y'all. And this is something that is close to my heart. I'm certainly getting a little uncomfortable right now doing this live video and talking about this subject. I do not by any means feel like an authority on this subject, but I am willing to get a little uncomfortable and be a little bit vulnerable because it's something I think is important. So this third idea kind of translates into that, which is, if you're somebody that is a frequent client of fitness and wellness establishments, you might kind of look and consider, like, is that establishment doing things to be outspoken about creating inclusive spaces. You know, are you giving your money to a club that actually is maybe very exclusive and is not really doing anything very visibly at all to try to create more welcoming spaces, more inclusive spaces that are, more diverse and more welcoming to different types of people? And if the answer to that is no, then you might, that might be a good spot where you're maybe a little willing to get a little bit uncomfortable and say, ooh, maybe I'll try something different, right? I'm not saying don't do it at all, but just like be aware of that, right? Like, what's that saying of like, vote with your dollar or something like that. So, yeah, I hope that gives you some good food for thought, my friends. Something that I care about, of course, very deeply, and that I feel genuinely deeply committed to bringing along in my development as a business. So it's definitely my intention as my business grows and as my visibility grows to do more and more to be able to create inclusive spaces for healing and inclusive spaces for wellness and self-care and self improvement, because I really deeply feel that when we are all able to be empowered in our own individual healing journeys, that it actually creates the opportunity for collective liberation. And I think that when we collectively, as kind of like a whole global community, a whole global family, are able to find more common ground, find more spaces of kind of shared inclusive communication and healing, that we all benefit. We all benefit. Absolutely, we all benefit. So it's not just from a humanitarian effort to help somebody else. That's another, maybe a little extra bonus idea, is that it's not just from this idea of helping others, but I genuinely deeply believe that when we help others, we help ourselves, and everybody benefits, and it's like an exponential. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I will talk to you soon, and thanks for watching.